All right, the time has finally come. As you guys can see, the 328ti is up on jack stands, and that can only mean one thing. Today, we're gonna be pulling the M52 out of the BMW. Unfortunately, old girl has a blown head gasket. Now you might be wondering, why don't you just do the head gasket in the car? Well, along with doing the head gasket, there's honestly just a lot of stuff inside the engine bay that I feel like I really need to take care of, and the only way that I can really do that is with the engine out of the car. I'm excited to pull this engine for a few reasons. For one, I expect this to be incredibly simple. If you guys have followed along with the build at all, you will know that I did pretty much everything possible to make this engine as simple as possible. One of the other reasons I'm really excited to pull this engine is because it's giving me a chance to learn from my mistakes and clean up a lot of the messes that I made along the way while initially doing this engine swap. As we're working through the process of pulling the engine, of course, I will go over those bits that I did to make this a bit more simple. But for now, let's just jump right in. We are already off to an amazing start. I just looked underneath the car and we already have some oil drips that I had no idea that I actually had. So that's gonna be interesting to see where those are coming from. Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! Was not expecting that. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, brother. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, now hopefully this goes a little smoother. Hey, that went pretty good. Bruh, I'm taking L after L right now. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm meant to do it, but before I drain the oil, I should have taken all the pressure out of the fuel system. Well, that'll be fun. We'll just have to deal with gasoline later, I guess. But I guess while we wait for the oil to drain the rest of the way, we'll hop underneath the car and get done everything that we need to under there, which is going to be disconnecting the drive shaft, disconnecting the slave cylinder from the transmission, disconnecting the fuel lines, and then also disconnecting the shifter. And then also disconnecting the exhaust. Cannot forget that part. Ah, yes. We love snapping bolts. There we go. Alrighty. So now we have 1, 2, 3 bolts that have snapped off on this exhaust, along with the 1 bolt that's completely missing. Gotta love it. Ah, there we go. Alrighty, so I went ahead and disconnected the fuel lines off camera. I just knew it was going to be a mess. It was going to be super cumbersome to try and film. So that's all disconnected, and all the annoying stuff up underneath the car is over with. So now we can go ahead and move on to the engine bay. First thing we're going to be taking off is the front core support, and this is actually where all the simplification begins. So if you look up here, all this wiring that I have tucked up here by the fuse box used to run up and along the core support to random things like the horn, to the windshield washer reservoir, ambient air temperature sensor, just a bunch of little useless things that I didn't need in order to drift this car. And then also along with that, there's usually a bunch of like plastic ducts and stuff that sit up in the front core support. Those are all gone. So overall, this is just gonna be a lot easier to take off. It's just gonna be a few electrical connections, a few bolts here and there, and it should come off fairly easy. I'll tell you right now, this stupid overflow tank from AutoZone is going in the trash. This thing was terrible, and as you can see, this thing is pretty scuffed. It's not doing too good. Alrighty, so I've already come across one of my mistakes. So for my electric fan setup, I have this fancy little relay setup, right? So I have the power wire running over along the front core support because the plug for the E fan was facing on the driver's side. So I just wanted to have everything plug up here to this little connector. And I decided for the ground side, I would just tap into one of the old ground wires that was over here. But unfortunately, this ground wire sits over on this side of the car, but the power wire sits on that side of the car. Unless I totally just like cut off the wire, the only way for me to get this out of the way is to kind of like throw it up over towards the firewall. But like, regardless, this is still kind of a nuisance. So I'm gonna have to figure out a better way to do this when we go to put the engine back in. All right, so here's the next place that things have been simplified on this engine. Right now, we're gonna be taking off the intake manifold and we're gonna be keeping the fuel rail and the intake on there and just take it all off in one piece. One thing that's gonna make this a hell of a lot easier is instead of putting on the original big ass hump thing for the cowl that was up here, I just ended up making this block off plate, which allows me to get to these back nuts a hell of a lot easier. And then along with that, up front, you can see we have this filter here where the CCV hose usually comes from and connects up underneath the intake manifold. Obviously, I did away with that entire system, so we're not gonna have to mess around with that. So really, the only thing that we're gonna have to do is disconnect these O2 sensors, disconnect where the harness connects to the fuel rail, and then there's an intake air temperature sensor on the underside, take off the vacuum hose, and just little connectors here and there. But overall, it's gonna be really easy, especially when it comes to reaching these back nuts. See, now the only thing that makes it hard for me to get these back ones now is just the fact that I'm so goddamn short. Oh yeah, that also got connector, don't it? Oh yeah. I forgot that the fuel rail is actually directly tied into the entire wiring harness, so we gotta take this off. But that's not too big of a deal. It's just these two bolts. And then this should just pop up there. Then we can get back to that back bolt. I just noticed the hose clamp on the vacuum hose coming from the brake booster. There's no adjustment screw. How does that... I'm not even gonna worry about it. Boom. So one thing that's been baffling me for a long time is the fact that I've had oil dripping down all underneath the intake manifold. And obviously, since there's no oil coming down from the valve cover, it's coming out from the intake manifold, which is weird because I don't have the CCV connected. Like you can see under here, so we got the intake manifold. And up underneath, this is usually where the oil separator sits, but I have that plugged off. So there's no like oil getting into the intake whatsoever. And you can even see how moist it is up here. The only thing that I can assume is that it was leftover like oil residue from when the engine was ran previously, because I never cleaned out the inside of the intake manifold. But like the amount that has gotten on the engine is kind of odd. Hopefully, once we go to put this engine back together this time, we won't have any of that issue because I'll probably end up cleaning the intake manifold this time. But now with the intake manifold off, I can show you kind of some more of the simplification that I did with this engine. So normally there's a bunch of coolant lines that run up underneath the intake manifold. There's a metal hose that connects up to the back of the timing cover. As you can see, I have that blocked off, and it connects throughout to the heater core, throttle body warmers, stuff like that. So like I said, we have that port blocked off on the back of the timing cover. We have this water port blocked off onto the side of the head. And then we also have this port on the back of the head that goes to the heater core blocked off as well. So blocking off all those ports made it so I could only have the two radiator hoses for the entire cooling system. And without the spider hose, it made it so I did not have to run the coolant reservoir, so I was able to switch over to this inline filler neck, which obviously just had to have an expansion tank connected to it. But overall, it really simplified the entire cooling system and made bleeding the system a lot easier. So I just found something a little bit funny. So I just got done disconnecting the power steering. So I disconnected this soft return line, and then I also disconnected this hard line that goes over to the rack itself back there. But I decided to turn over this return line and like dump it down into my container. And I found this. I have never seen this before. Is this like a power steering, like kind of like delay valve, like something to restrict the flow of power steering fluid to make the steering stiffer? I don't know. I've never seen it before. I'm probably gonna do some research on this, but for now, I'm just gonna pop this right back in the hose. We'll just go in there and just boop. But now that the power steering is all disconnected from the chassis, all there's left to do is get the wiring harness disconnected from the chassis as well. Then also cannot forget about the relays. First gotta get that off. Oh wait, son of a biscuit. Alrighty, so I just ran into a little bit of an issue, and I had to take a bit of a shortcut to rectify it. So I mentioned earlier how I had this relay setup, right? And the original issue we were having was that the power wire was running across the front core support, and the ground was on the opposite side of where the power was going, so we had to like lay the wire up, and it wasn't like a huge issue, but it was something to think about. Well, I just ran into another issue where the ignition power that I got to turn the fan on when I turn the ignition on is hardwired into this diagnostic port, which is directly tied in to the entire wiring harness, right? The only problem was that I had no way of disconnecting it without having to do a bunch of wiring over again. So I made the executive decision to disconnect the entire relay setup from the breaker, took the ground off, and then I ended up snipping the ground, which was giving us issues initially. So when we go back to installing everything after the engine's all finished up, this electric fan system is definitely gonna have to be something that we address and come up with a new plan for. I'm not sure if that made sense to any of you, but it made sense to me. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So let's move on. Now the reason there's an extra plug in here is because this engine and wiring harness originally came out of an automatic 328i, so that's just kind of been sitting in there. No worry at all. We also got, boom, relay back there. Now I believe with all of that disconnected, we are officially on to the home stretch. Yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. Alrighty, so I went ahead, disconnected the last ground connection, and I have the nuts on top of the engine mounts all disconnected. So now all there's left to do is disconnect the transmission cross member, and then this engine can come out. I kind of just have all the wires just like tucked on top just to like condense everything, so when we pull the engine out, there's not wires going everywhere. So far, this has gone way smoother than I expected. I'm not gonna pull the engine quite yet. I'm just gonna wait for my buddies to get to the garage just because I like to have extra hands on the engine while doing something like this, just to make sure we're clearancing everything right and we're not gonna mess anything up. But until then, I just want to go over a couple more things that I forgot to mention when it comes to what I did to simplify this engine. So usually over here on the passenger side of the engine bay, you have the secondary air pump and stuff like that. Normally that has a vacuum hose that goes up over to the intake manifold. And then also there was the evap system. So if you look back there, I have a little filter going onto that blue line. That blue line usually goes to the charcoal canister, I believe. And I just decided I don't want that in the engine bay. I don't want that getting in the way. So I deleted that. And just to make sure there was no debris that got up in that line, I just went ahead and put a filter on there. Surprisingly, I never really noticed any gas smells. I know when the gas tank is purging and when it's letting out pressure, when it gets hot outside, it'll usually send a lot of vapors out through there. I never really noticed a gas smell, thankfully, so that worked out really well. Of course, with this emission stuff delete, you have to get it tuned out, which I got done through Castle Performance. They tuned out all the emission stuff, along with getting rid of the EWS immobilizer system. They were a huge help. Their tunes are super cheap. They work really well, and I definitely recommend them. I'll throw the link down to their page down in the description, just in case you guys want to go check them out if you plan on doing a swap like this in your BMW. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of just going to be chilling out until people get here to help me pull this thing, so I will see you guys when we get to that point. Alrighty, we got the engine hoist hooked up with the load leveler. We got the transmission mounts off. Now all there's left to do is pull this thing. So this is the issue we're having now. We had this issue when we put the engine in, and now we're having it taken out. So here, actually, so first, the issue that's causing that issue, so right now, the bulge on the engine pan is hitting the steering column, and I really don't feel like taking the steering column out because it's a pain to get off, and it's just, I don't want to do that. So what we did when we put the engine in is we actually took off the passenger side engine mount arm, and that gives us enough room to pull the engine over to this side, clear the steering column, and hopefully everything should be happily doodly, you know? There we go. Ah, that's one thing that I forgot. Goddamn fuel pressure valve. Whoa, I'm wide awake. So we got the connector disconnected. This little bitch goes down underneath the car, underneath the plate, next to the fucking fuel filter and fuel pressure regulator. But now I think it should come out.
Ooh, baby. Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey.
That's not how that works when there's also another plane at play, sir.
Uppy, downy, downy, uppy.
Alrighty, full in.
Squeaky boy.
I'd say that went pretty good, aside from snapping like half the studs on the exhaust and spilling a lot of coolant. Yeah, I'd say all the simplifications worked, because I mean, I'd say altogether that was probably like 3-ish hours. Yeah, so like 3.5 hours, something like that. Not too bad, not too bad at all. So I mentioned earlier in the video how I had that weird oil leak when I pulled the car in. I'm pretty sure it's coming from this vent tube for the dipstick. So that'll be something that we have to address. Ultimately, I just want to do a catch can setup. I haven't decided what I'm going to go with, but that'll be something that we do in a future video. But for now, I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.